You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys. I'm here for a special episode. We have a live audience. Everyone yell so that the mics can pick you up. We're super excited. Let me intro Remy first. Remy Kam is obviously my friend, but she is a movement expert. She likes to incorporate function and feeling, which I feel is very rare in this space. And it's why we connect so well, not just as trainer and client, but as friends. She is the founder and owner of Core by Remy, and she's going to get into all things, but we're here actually launching an event together at the Frame downtown for some of the girlies here in San Diego. We wanted to do an entire event with the importance of not just training our body and getting healthy, but training our mind. Welcome to the podcast, Remy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Technically 3, though.
Oh, yeah, because we did Wealth House.
Yeah. This feels very official. I'm like, you know me, I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, okay, like memorizing what I want to say. But no, this feels great. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so proud of you. Me and Remy really have bonded over not just our passion for incorporating movement with feeling and the kind of mental health journey behind working out, honestly, and why it's important to not just work out our body, but our mind. But we've also bonded over our own healing journeys with our body. So I thought Remy could just like quickly jump into what that journey has looked like for you. I know you shared in your first episode kind of the journey of starting Core by Remy, but we didn't get to like get into the nitty gritties a little bit more about like the healing journey you've had.
So I mean, I think growing up in the dance world and being someone who just as myself is really competitive and wanted to perform and wanted to do well, I, like a lot of us, kind of realized there was a lot of love and validation in the way that you looked, and particularly looking a certain way, which at that I think we've gotten to a better place, but at that time was like very thin, very skinny, especially in the ballet world. And without really realizing it, I was kind of subconsciously having those thoughts and feelings about myself and making certain decisions and judgments about myself. I think it's kind of like a slow burn, and then over time, if you're exposed to movies and maybe comments from people, like you kind of start to internalize it, and then very quickly you're just wanting to be smaller and burn off as much calories as possible. And like for me, fitness kind of almost began in that way, to be completely honest. Like it was this like pressure I felt to look a certain way, but it also connected me to my body and myself and my confidence in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it turned into, honestly, like the healthiest outlet that I have to feel good about myself. It's why I feel so strongly about working with people and not only talking about the physical outcomes, but also the way that you feel about yourself during your session, after your session, the way that you're talking to yourself, and almost using it as this journey that you're going to go on and building towards strength and fueling your body and getting stronger, and kind of shifting the narrative from I want to be smaller, I want to eat less, I want to burn more, and really moving into I want this long, healthy life. I want muscle on my body so I can move and I can like chase my kids around and I can like function in daily life. And so just shifting it into that narrative of more abundance and less scarcity. So for me, that's really my passion, and that was really a journey for me. And I just think we're surrounded by constant choices and decisions and pressure. And sometimes it just feels like this like ping pong match in your head where you're like
a tug of war.
Yeah. I want this, but then I have this like shame and guilt around it. But is that me who's creating that, or is that like a story I've been sold?
Totally. I think it can get really confusing. And I think in my own journey too, I mean, the youngest memories I have of like perceiving my body, I was not happy. Like I remember that. Like I remember being a young kid and like looking in the mirror and being so harsh on myself. And I think I had a lot of voices in my life affirming that. And as you get older, to your point, especially as a woman, like there's so much media, there's so much comparison. We talk about it all the time. Like social media is amazing, but there's also a lot of comparison. and comparison is the thief of all joy. It also can steal away our confidence within ourselves and what we look like. Yeah. And I love that you talked about it being a journey. As you know, on the podcast, we talk about mental health and healing as a journey because I don't think it ever stops. And I really feel this way about the way I perceive my body as well. And I think that I've gotten to a better place where I catch myself the same way in my mental health journey where like and that's why we asked you guys at the beginning of your workout for the pod community listening, the girls just did a workout and we started it by asking the girls to really be aware of the negative thoughts, if any, that popped up during, because I feel like I've really had to work on becoming aware of like negative thoughts around my body, acknowledging them and then changing them actively. Right. That's what like my healing journey has looked like with my depression, with my anxiety, with my childhood trauma. The body stuff was kind of like, has been this last wave of things. And you've been really accountable with me. Like when I like out loud am calling myself fat or like nasty words, you've been like, stop, don't say that. And that's something I feel like I have to do mentally too. It's hard.
You know, we have to be realistic too and honest with ourselves because if you are having those thoughts, I don't think it's necessarily about like pretending they don't exist, but like almost just like letting them be and then also not being like defining yourself by that feeling or that moment. At the same time, we have off days. Like we have days where I call it the uglies or I'm like, okay, like this isn't a permanent thing, but I just like am not feeling great today. And I don't want to like go look in the mirror and just like criticize myself all day long. I know I'm not really feeling good today and I'm just gonna like be okay with that. That doesn't define that I'm gonna feel like this forever.
Well, it's something that I've really done too, and I think this works in anything you're struggling with, whether it's your mental health, whether it's your body, whatever it is. I think when you're doing everything you can and really holding yourself accountable, not just mentally, but also with your routines. For instance, like I do care about feeling my best, looking my best, being healthy. Therefore, I've incorporated routines into my life to make sure that I keep myself accountable. And if I'm showing up to these workouts and I'm like doing what I'm supposed to do, like at least in those moments where a negative thought comes or I start to really come down on myself, I can like look at the evidence same way I would in my mental health and be like, what have you done to like dispel this? Like you're living a healthy life, you're working out, like you cannot do anything else. It's out of your control. You now need to like rewire your thoughts. And this is where it goes back to not just training your body, but training your mind. And I think that's why we always refer to movement as almost a therapy. Would you agree?
100%. And I think that's exactly what you were saying about the conversations that you're having during your workouts too, and not allowing those to be negative, because it's just like anything in your life, like you're creating almost this like familiarity and habit. It's really being in alignment with yourself, right? Like you're making a commitment and you're saying, I'm going to show up for this. I'm going to go every Wednesday morning, and maybe it won't be perfect, but like you are showing up, you're in alignment. And like when you follow through on those commitments and promises to yourself, that's when you can really start to have that like compassion and that self-love.
Kind of going back to your journey and what you were mentioning about just a lot of like conflicting thoughts in your head. Like it gets confusing, especially as a woman. Like there's so much guilt and shame around being a woman in so many ways, but I think
can't win.
But for this conversation, I do think it becomes very confusing because you want to look a certain way. Everybody wants to look their best. Yeah. Yet I think now there's a guilt and shame with like wanting that. And then it gets confusing because you're like, but I shouldn't care this much. I'm being negative. And I think for me, the differentiation is that like, I'm allowed to like want to lose 5 pounds if that is going to make me happy. Like that's my choice. But I need to make sure that the narrative in my head is not, you are not good enough until you lose those 5 pounds. Exactly. So how in your practice with clients and yourself, have you been able to hold on to like value, like I'm enough no matter what, while also setting goals for yourself?
Yeah. Like all of my clients that I work with, we really work on like a performance-based goal. So it's a matter of increasing your weight, doing more reps, like creating this sense of challenge and resistance, because then you can walk out of that being like, I'm getting stronger and I'm growing. And just as a default, like scientifically proven, the more muscle you're building on your body, like the more flexible you can be with your food choices, the more compact and tight and toned, really like that physical goal that we're going for. Like that's almost to me like the side effect of all of that. And so I really try, and it does vary based on client. Like there are some people that I think can be a little more matter of fact and less emotional, although I feel most of the people that gravitate towards me are kind of in the same boat as us, where it's like, let's not actually put pressure on ourselves to look a certain way, especially as women. Like, I feel like our bodies change like every week. Holding on to this idea that even when you get to like a place where you're really happy with what you look like, that can also turn really toxic and negative, because that's not permanent either. And then when you start to maybe change the following week, if you're like upset with that, it's like you kind of have to be okay with the flow of everything as long as you're consistent. As long as that narrative is like to get stronger, to live longer, to fuel your body, and not like, I need to lose this weight to impress this person, or to be enough, or to have control, or to finally feel like this like confidence that I've been searching for, because it's fleeting. So like you'll feel it for a moment and then you want to lose 5 more pounds. And so that's when it turns toxic, because when is enough if you're just constantly searching for like that validation. So I think it is okay, of course, to have physical goals, as long as it's not coming from a place of toxic mindset, like you said, for like proving something.
Totally. And I think that was something I had to call myself out on growing up with a very narcissistic mother and someone who really valued a lot of self-preservation and looks. And then in the society we live in, and then going into social media, I had to really call myself out. And I encourage everyone who listens to the podcast, if you listen, you know, like, you need to look in the mirror and be able to call yourself on your shit. And I think for me, it was about like, oh, I'm only feeling good about myself when I can see my abs, when I've dropped the 10 pounds. And then when I don't, I like view myself as not good enough. Where is that? And where can we find some self-worth and self-love? And I really had to work on that. And I think it's still a journey. And I think for me, like, tangible tips, when I hear like, you look fat, you are ugly, anything that crosses my mind, I have to actively, we hear it all the time, like affirmations, like are healing. They are, they're this, it's the same way I've like navigated depression. It's the same way I've navigated out of anxiety. Like, you have to rewrite a thought to rewire your brain. And so now, like, when one pops up, I address it, I don't ignore it, and I rewrite the opposite. So we thought it would be cool in this pod like episode, if you're listening or if you're here in person, to kind of like think about whatever negative thought pops up for you on a day-to-day basis, or what popped up maybe in the workout, first thing that comes to your mind, and affirm the opposite. So I thought we'd just take a second. For example, for me, like I just said, one is like, I am ugly, I am fat, I'm not good enough. The way I would rewrite that is, no, you're doing everything you can. You are not fat. You are healthy. You are perfect just the way you are.
Beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, amazing.
But you are enough no matter what, no matter what you look like. And I have to do that in my head over and over. And I've learned and seen with time that it's gotten better. It's still there. I mean, it's been I'm 28 years old. It's been years and years of teaching myself those negative thoughts, but it gets better, and it gets better with support, and it gets better with time and energy, and really making those commitments to myself of like showing up for the workout even when I've had too many martinis the night before. I don't know if we want to take a second to just everyone like sit and like in their head silently kind of like rewire that thought, rewire that negative toxic thing that popped up, so that we can kind of like end on a good note and in a wholesome way. Okay, I'm going to bring you guys back.
My heart is like pounding. So intense.
I know. I love it though. I think affirmations are so important. They really, really do work. And we don't do it enough where we stop and just like call ourselves out.
Well, because how uncomfortable is it to give yourself a compliment?
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
We're taught to be humble. Everyone's first response is always, no.
Well, you almost make yourself smaller.
And how much harder is it to compliment yourself? Like, if we can't even accept compliments. So for someone listening who maybe does not have access to a gym, or is really struggling to like stay motivated in that way, or they have an injury. Roxy and I were talking before, and like she's struggling with an ankle injury. I have like multiple friends who are really struggling in that way. I have a friend who hurt her arm, hasn't been able to go to the gym. You can start to spiral. Like, we want to stay fit, we want to stay healthy, and we can see our journey kind of backsliding in these moments that are out of our control. What are some mindset shifts, or maybe even some tangible tips that people can do if they're kind of in a space where they don't have access, or maybe maybe they're injured right now?
Well, I think it depends on the injury, but I am a huge advocate for walking for a lot of reasons. It's really low impact. It's very accessible no matter where you are. And mentally, it gets you like in a new environment. It gets you outside. It gets you fresh air. It gets you sunlight. Like there's so much science behind that. And it really is a matter of like just going back to the foundations. If you can't walk, like you can do things like meditation, breath work. The thing about movement is it gets you out of your head and also like into your head in almost a meditative way. It's empowering, you know, but then it's also taking you out of your day. It's taking you out of the stress of what's happening tomorrow. And it's like actually giving you some like tranquility and like peace of mind, which I think is so, so powerful. So if you're unable to move your body, like trying to find other activities such as breath work or meditation or just like a walk outside that can just kind of give you that pause from the ongoing expectation and noise of life. We are inundated on the news, on social media, like 24/7 with truly tragic and stressful things. And we're not meant to really like be working at that chronically stress level
or carrying all of it.
Or carrying all of it. It's a lot. I totally hear the stress of I'm going to regress on my fitness goals and all of this, but I think you kind of have to reach a place of acceptance and be like, here's where I'm at, here's my injury, here's what I can do, and this is temporary and not going to be forever, and like maybe reframe it. This is a time where I can really like tune into my body and like work on recovery and work on slowing down. I do believe the universe has a way of like giving you things when you need it.
Totally.
Like
being able to surrender is a choice, whether it's in your mental health, whether it's in your career, whether it's if you're injured or can't work out for some reason. Life is lifing. Like I think a lot of times we have anxiety, we start to spiral out because we feel we're losing control. And if you start to think about surrender, like choosing to surrender as a form of control, like that's a choice we all have. I think that can give us some of our power back a little bit too. And then something you remind me all of the time too is like if I'm having like a crazy I was going to say if I'm having a crazy week, I always have a crazy week. If I have an abnormally weird, crazy week where I can't hit the gym as much and I start to like spiral, you always remind me like it's good sometimes to shock your body a little bit. And I always find that like in those moments where I'm like, fuck, I didn't get to my workout. If I get into a place where I'm like, I'm going to work on my mental health this week. Like my body's going to be fine. I end the week being like, oh, like I look fine. I feel fine. I didn't die. I'm here. I'm still on the same fitness journey I was.
Fitness and movement is so healthy and good for us, but just like anything, like too much of something can turn negative. And as someone I've been in group fitness for 10 years, like I've had access to all these studios and I was working out sometimes twice a day, and it almost like set this new target for what I had to do to maintain. I would get really bad anxiety and be really scared when I was missing a class. Like I was prioritizing it over sleep, over everything. And I do think especially people who are highly achieving and motivated and are like, no, I am doing this. Like I am like fighting through whatever I need to do to get this. Like there is a sense of control and power in that, but too much of working out and too like stress is stress. So like that could be creating inflammation and that could be like giving you some negativity in your body too. Being able to have the relationship with fitness where you're like, you are serving me, you are good for me, movement is amazing, but also being able to be like, oh, actually not today. I'm not feeling this today. Or I'm on vacation this week. If I don't do something for a week, like okay, it's all like it's going to be completely fine. And most likely you won't see any physical changes truly because it's so much more than fitness. It's your mindset, it's your hormones, it's your nervous system. And I think on vacation, you're so happy. Like I get back from vacation and like, I look amazing and I haven't even worked out for a week, but.
Well, it's a lot of mindset. There's a lot of body dysmorphia. And it's sad. I was even like scrolling through old photos the other day on my feed and I was like looking at pictures of myself where I remember like specifically feeling like shit about myself. Like I remember in that moment being like, I look so bad right now. And then I'm looking at it now and I'm like, you looked so good. I wish I looked like that right now. But it's always this toxic cycle and I have to stop myself and be like, oh my God, like you're doing it again. And I think it's again, keeping yourself accountable, unapologetically calling yourself out in the mirror and being like, no, we're not going to behave this way. You're in the process of rewriting. And I've now tried to rewrite my relationship around like hating working out too, because I like, I don't want to say
we're getting there.
No,
I feel like you are
I've
liking
always
it.
hated working out. It's like,
I hate this.
No, I really do. Like, I mean, I'm working on it. I don't want to say that, but like, I think the knee jerk thing I want to say is like, I don't like working out. I wish I didn't have to.
Right.
But I'm trying to work on that because I do think on the days that I've like treated it as therapy, I care so much about mental health growth and like healing. The reframe of looking at training our body as like aligned with training our mind has really, really helped me.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to like give myself grace when I skip, but also be like, okay, this is just on the to-do list. I have to go for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be okay with whatever result. Similarly, like I was like overworking out so much to the point where I wasn't losing weight because cortisol was just so high. And then like taking a step back, going on walks, doing Pilates, doing 1 day a week training with you.
Yeah.
I feel like the best I have, and I'm not even working as hard. I was torturing myself. I know, I'll clip that. No, I was torturing myself to your point. Like it became something where I hated it because I was torturing myself.
Yeah. It's so tied into mental health. You get out of it like what you put into it. And I think as long as you're showing up and the expectation is to show up, to be consistent, not to always like have the most incredible workout, but to actually just show up and be there. Like 9 times out of 10, you probably feel better right after the workout and you're so happy that you did it. And like maybe your day is more productive, or like maybe there's outcomes to it that have nothing to do with your physical appearance. And I think that that's really the beauty in all of it. It is a very vulnerable position to be in, and I always applaud people, and I totally empathize and understand like even approaching a group fitness class or an event like this and having like thoughts and feelings and insecurities, but like I feel so passionate about movement for that reason.
Yeah. Well, and I love that like seeing everyone here who like saw what the event was about and like showed up to like be here for their like mind and body is like a reminder of why, and I talk about this all the time in the podcast of like why I started, which is like when you see groups in numbers or you see listeners or you have people on a podcast who are sharing their story or resonating with you, you feel less alone, and we can remove this like victim mentality and mindset around speaking down on ourselves or our experience or what we look like, because we're all sitting in the same room, acknowledging the same things, showing up for ourselves, working out. We're all human. Getting to see everybody in the room is a reminder like, okay, I'm not alone. Like we're all working on this together. The podcast is called How I See It. And at the end of every episode, I ask everyone how they see it, looking back on their journey. You answered it the first time about your business, but looking back on your like healing journey with your body and the way you've started with overworking out to now this program where it's about feeling good internally and mindset wise, how do you see it?
I see it as a journey. The sooner that you can remove expectation and like value in the outcome, and the more that you can just like lean into the moments of getting there, the better you're gonna feel, and the more you're able to have compassion for just like the flow of it. And I think as someone who has really valued myself for, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna cry. The way I look, like the way people perceive me, truly this like sense of needing to be perfect to matter and succeed, like fitness has been so healing for me because it's not about that. It's like just showing up, the flow, and like knowing that you're doing something for yourself beyond like, I don't know, the message you're trying to prove.
I love that you brought this up. A lot of people can get very fairy tale about life sometimes. And I'm very, harsh and unapologetic about things. And I just think like we're never going to be content.
Yeah.
Like we're never going to be like perfect or happy with every single thing we do or the way we look or where we are in our healing and where we are with our career. And the sooner you can like really sit with yourself and be like, I'm okay with where I'm at no matter what, if I know that I'm unapologetically showing up to life, the gym, my career, the happier you'll be, because we're never going to be fully content. And killing expectation has been one of the hardest things I've had to do in all aspects of my life. When it comes to relationships with people, when it comes to the way I look, when it comes to where I am with my career, because I'm the same way. It's like, it's never enough. And being able to sit and be like, I love myself and I love my life without the expectation of it working out the way it's supposed to is the most freeing thing. And it's offered me some control in that choice to surrender when I am someone who needs control a lot. So I appreciate you being vulnerable. I appreciate you all being here and listening. Remy, share where people can find you if they don't already follow you.
My personal Instagram is at Remy Kam, first name, last name. And then I have my website, corebyremy.co, and my Instagram is corebyremy for my online platform.
Yay! Thanks, Remy. And thank you guys for being here. Yay!